Great. So good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this European Commission's webinar on AI and teacher professional development for eTwinning ambassadors. This webinar is organized by the European School Education Platform, which we all invite you to take a look at your own convenience. My colleague Martin will post all the necessary links in the chat. And today is a very special opportunity for you eTwinning ambassadors to unravel with us the mysteries of generative AI and explore its practical application in education. We will dive into a few fascinating tools, as such ChatGPT, and we will demonstrate their potential to improve teaching practices. Now, without any further delays, I would like to welcome Marco Neves to you. Marco is an AI and digital education consultant, CEO of Interact Ideas, focusing on integrating digital technologies in education. And he will speak about, and he speaks on the impact of digital transformation and AI in education and society, advocating for adaptive educational systems. With experiences starting in 2002 as a teacher training in digital education, he's involved in European technological innovation projects and partnerships. And he also did a master thesis where he examined the European eTwinning project's effect on the Portuguese schools. Marco, the floor is all yours.
Kira, thank you very much. It's a huge pleasure to be here with you. And first of all, I would like to thank all the participants, all the eTwinning ambassadors that are here with us today. So we can go inside this thematic of generative artificial intelligence. That's for the last month, a little bit more, a year and 3 or 4 months, everybody's been talking about in the thematic of artificial intelligence. And today we are here to take a look mainly for a first perspective in terms of generative artificial intelligence. As you know, this is a series of 2 webinars. So in the first one, we will explore, let's say, the background regarding artificial intelligence and generative artificial intelligence. We will take a look about what is generative artificial intelligence, and also dive a little bit about what is these technologies and what is capable of doing. So in the second webinar, you will be with Ariana and exploring more in terms of practical issues regarding generative artificial intelligence for teacher professional development. I will just share my screen with you for my presentation. So in the main idea of this webinar, as we told you, is focus on this particular issue regarding professional development, and we will be focused here also sharing with you some ideas and some possibilities how we can look at generative artificial intelligence in a way that give us the opportunity for us to be able to see about the potential of artificial intelligence in a way that can support us and also help us as teachers in terms of our continued professional development. So it's important for you to understand that this will be a learning journey, and this is a series of 2 webinars, as I told you before. And first of all, I would like you just for you to take a little bit of a reflection regarding where do you stand in your relationship with artificial intelligence today. Not only generative artificial intelligence, because as we know, generative artificial intelligence is just one element or one component of artificial intelligence. And we need to understand that artificial intelligence is like a science, and there is a lot of different topics that goes on the umbrella of artificial intelligence. Of course, that we clear all understand that since the release of ChatGPT in the 30th of November of 2022, everybody start to interrogate themselves about what is happening on this field, because we have AI for a long time. We can even point to 1 year that is somehow the birth of artificial intelligence, when in 1950, Alan Turing wrote a paper, a very interesting paper, with the title, Can Machines Think? It's from that year that the backgrounds, the foundations of artificial intelligence start to be built. And there is another very important year in the history of AI is 1956, when in a conference during that summer, a group of research from different fields, they gathered together in Dartmouth, in the Dartmouth College, and that is known as the conference of Dartmouth, where different experts, they set up the foundations regarding AI. So it's very important for us to understand that AI is not something new. That's been around all of us for a long time. We have been using AI for a few years, even if we didn't understand, because when we are using our smartphone, when we are doing a search on the internet, there is AI behind. What is different is since the release of ChatGPT, we have a direct access to AI. So there is something that is not working on the background, but we have something that can help us create, build, generate something. I understand in terms of this period that we mostly in terms of the history of technology, we have been using technology to amplify our muscles. So it's been mainly on target in terms of physical strength. And what we have with AI, and mainly what we have today, is that the focus in terms of technological development is more in the perspective of our cognitive process. So we can say here that we are creating technology to amplify our intelligence. And of course, we will not compare artificial intelligence to human intelligence. These are two completely different things. We can even interrogate ourselves if what AI does is anything similar to intelligence. And we need to understand that that is not the key questions in everything that is happening nowadays in the context of artificial intelligence. We need to understand is how AI is challenging us, and mainly in terms of our students, because one thing that we clearly understand is that AI will be a major part of their lives, professional, personal. So we see artificial intelligence as a general purpose technology. And what it is a general purpose technology is a technology that is impact every component of our life. So it's not only a technical issue, it's also a social, economical, ethical, geopolitical, and we can even take a look as a human challenge, because what we are seeing in terms of AI is that is invading our exclusivities in terms of creating, in terms of having ideas, in terms of generating something. And this something, as we know, could be text, could be image, could be audio, could be sound, could be music, could be a website, could be an app, or could be software code. So is in that particular that we look at this technology in a way to amplify our cognitive process. But it's also important, given the days that we are living, that we also have a clear understand that AI is completely different from any other technologies that have been challenging us as humans. And even if we take a look at the educational context, we know that we, along the last decades, technology is being a part of the educational process. We can take a look at the calculators, we can take a look at the internet, the smartphone, interactive boards, and so on, right? But this time, in my opinion, we are being challenged from a different type of technology. So it's not a passive technology, it's active, it's able to create, it's not deterministic, because giving the inputs, we could have different outputs. So we need clearly to have this awareness about how AI is challenging us. I would just like for us to have an understanding how we arrive here in terms of 4 key moments that I think is very important for us to understand the power of artificial intelligence. Today we have a world that is completely digitalized, is hyper-connected, but we have a path in a way that leads us to this present day. And I point this in 4 key moments. So the movement between the analog to the digital. So almost all of our process entities and so on are being digitalized. The first key moment, in my opinion, is when we start the conversion between analog to digital. And during that time, the main interface, the main device, it was the computer. Then we start to have a lot of information. So, and we have the birth of the WWW, or World Wide Web, and we start to have our information also on the cloud, or on the web, and we need to find a way that help us find that information. That's when we create the search engines such as Google. And now that we have so much information, the search engines are not enough in the way that we need to interact with all this huge amount of information. So we, as humans, we build or we create language models as agents of cognition. And you know some of them, because nowadays is not only ChatGPT. We tend to call ChatGPT to each chatbot. As we use Google when we want to search the internet, even if we use different search engines. But nowadays we have ChatGPT, we have Gemini, we have Microsoft Copilot, we have Claude, we have Llama. So we have a lot of them. And the main interface in terms of interact with information are these chatbots. Just to give an example, since I've been using these chatbots, I reduce the use of search engines to 75 or to 80%. I'm mainly focused on using this kind of tools. But there is here particular issues that we need to take in account, is the different in terms of the cognition process that we use when we have only search engines and now that we have these chatbots. When we only have search engines, they only give us some links to different websites. They rank that search, but then we need to read the information, we need to analyze, we need to validate, we need to structure, we need to organize. So a lot of cognition process that was around that. Nowadays, with these chatbots, a lot of this cognition process, they are delegated to these technologies. That could be not a problem in terms of us as adults, because we already have a solidified cognitive process, but is a challenge for our students. And I think it's really important for us to reflect on that. But we will not stop here. Okay, so we have this clear understanding. So the next step, I was thinking 2025 when I create this slide, but some of the things that I put there that would be the next step or the next big thing, they are already happened today, is the environment where we can have our own AI trained in our own data, like bring your own artificial intelligence. And another thing that is already happened, so we didn't have to wait until 2025, is the interaction, the merge between robotics and what we call the large language models. So large language models are the algorithms that support the chatbots, as I show you on the point number 3, such as ChatGPT, Copilot, and so on. And there is another very important thing that I think we should clearly understand in terms of these times that we are living. That has to be with the interaction mode with the machines. And I say that is a little bit weird in terms of that. And I will try to explain you why. As you can see here, humans interface with machines. They start with prompts. So this was our first step in terms of human interaction with machines. And we were using prompts. But the language that we were using, it was not human language. It was machine language. So it was the human that need to adapt to understand the language of the machine. Then we move to this graphical interface that we have nowadays. And in this particular, we have drag and drop, click and action, copy, paste, and so on. So we didn't even need to remember about the comments. And where are we nowadays? We return to the prompt, to the simple interface, but with the big difference in this particular. The machines, they are able to understand and understand with commas. So I'm not saying that the machine knows what they're doing. They didn't have a clue about what they are doing. Okay, they are completely absent in terms of awareness. That is not the question. The question is that they understand human language. So we start interacting with the machines using human language. And that is a big difference, as I told you, because now in this environment is not we as humans that are able to understand human language. The machine can interpret, of course, with mathematical and statistical algorithms, but is able to understand what I'm asking and is able to reply to me. So we have this environment in interface with the machines where we are using language. So we need to master in terms of linguistic interaction. So it's not a question of using a search engine. It is a different, completely challenge that we have. We need to understand that once we have a model language that interacts with human language, somehow we have to interact with that tool, that agent, or that platform in the way that we interact in terms of the questions that we need to pose, so we can have a good quality in terms of the output. What we have been seeing also in terms of these years is that we move from what we call the unimodal language model to a multimodal language model. And what is the difference here is when we have ChatGPT in the end of 2022, the chatbot was only able to interact through text. And what we have nowadays is not only text generation, is also image generation, is video generation, is audio generation, is music generation, and is able to interact with all these different types of information. And that was something that we were expecting just in a few years, not so soon. And nowadays, most of these chatbots, even in the free versions of these chatbots, they are able to interact in a multimodal way with different types of information. And we have been witness a lot of capabilities of these models being better and better and better during this last 15 months. So if we start in November 2022. And I like just to show you some of the examples that these chatbots are able to do supported on these large language models. For example, they can interact with image. So I can go to a chatbot, could be ChatGPT, or could be other different types of chatbots. I can upload an image, and then I can ask to describe that image. But as I was saying to you, we cannot see this just as a tool of one question and one response. No, we have here, in terms of our disposal, the opportunity to interact, to talk, to have a conversation, to ask multiple times. Even the tool is able to make questions to us. So we have to see this in terms of a linguistic interaction, that we have a conversation with these tools. Just to give an example, sometimes I take a lot of time, for example, 30 minutes, 45 minutes or more, in terms of the interaction that I have to do with the chatbot to achieve clearly in terms of the output, or even to be able to understand some kind of concepts. Sometimes we have to tell it that they need to go to different approach. Sometimes we have to tell them that they can do better regarding what they are doing. And this is very critical, because our students, they are not so used in terms of the interaction with technology to have the need of a linguistic interaction. The chatbots, they can also create image, for example. Another example is I can upload an Excel file, for example, like a data set, and then I can ask that make some inputs in terms of the data that was given on terms of that Excel sheet. For example, it can automatically create graphics based on the analysis of that information. And this is very important, once again, for us to have this clear idea in the way that we are interact with this technology. Once again, some of the cognitive process that was needed to achieve some particular output now are being made by the machine. And this is very pertinent in terms of educational environments. Of course, they also can create code or software. In this example, just asking to create a Python function to do something. Once again, just a few months ago, we were able to have any kind of software that was able to do that. And nowadays we are seeing integrated more and more. And one thing that is also important is for us to understand that this generative artificial intelligence is not only on these particular chatbots. We can go to any other tools, any other platforms that have been using this. Padlet, for example, now you have some generative AI functionalities. If you go to Canva or any other platform, if you go to Google Drive, if you go to Office 365 and another ones, that means, and what is important to highlight here, is that our students will have these tools so they can use it to build, to create, to generate something, even the things that we ask them to do. I can give an old manuscript, for example, and that is able to identify the information that was there. And in this example that I'm going to show here to you, I just pick up a worksheet for math, for examples, to work with fractions, and then I ask the chatbot to solve that. And it was not only the question of asking to solve, it was asking to explain to me how he achieved the result. And ask also the chatbot to ask me if I have any questions or any doubts. And in case that I have any question or any doubt, that you use a different approach to explain to me. So we can see clear here that we have very interesting perspectives in terms of the use of this technology. But we cannot also forget that there are also concerns, and I will talk a little bit about them just in a few slides. So I always say, when we are talking about generative artificial intelligence in the field of education, that we, of course, we have challenge, we have opportunities, but we also have concerns. And we cannot forget about that concerns from different perspectives, in the learning perspective, in an ethical perspective, in different kinds of perspectives. Here, I'm just showing you another next step in terms of these technologies that are the agents, where I can interact with different agents to do different kind of things. So they are trained specifically in different kind of areas, in different kinds of thematics, and then I can interact with them because they are somehow prepared to this particular field, and not only from a perspective in terms of a more general knowledge as the ones that we interact, such as ChatGPT. The next thing that I will show to you, and I hope that you can hear the sound, is we can use, for example, tools, because it's not only ChatGPT. Nowadays, we have like this boom of generative artificial intelligence, lots of different tools. In this particular, I record a video talking about AI in education in Portuguese. And here I will be talking about artificial intelligence in education in French, but I don't know so much about French. So I can use one of these tools that are able to automatically translate and putting me with my tone of my voice speak in French. I hope that you can hear. Just give you a few seconds. I really hope that you were able to hear to that. And as you can see, I didn't have to speak a word in French, but the tool was able to pick up my audio, my voice, and clear adapt and putting me, Marco, speak about generative artificial intelligence in education and in French. Of course, this could be fantastic in terms of creating research for different language, but there are concerns regarding this. How easy it is to put someone talking about something that he never said before. Another thing is we have here is that these tools don't only interact in terms of text, they also can nowadays be able to understand human voice, and they can understand our speech, and at the same time they can reply to us not in written language but in oral language. And this is very critical also in terms of how our students interact with this interface, and the need for them to write, but they also see the opportunity to communicate to oral language and not using, in this case, written language. Here, just to give you, let's say, some kind of perspective about the AI education map, and you can see, and here is a focus on tools and platforms for generative artificial intelligence and education. Of course, we have a lot, hundreds of thousands of other tools in this context of generative artificial intelligence. And as you can see here, we have for teacher practice support, we have for classroom material, we have for evaluation and feedback, we have for student support. So we have for social tools also. The question here is, how do we integrate this technology in the learning process? How do we find the proper ways and the proper approach in terms of this being integrated? Because it's not only integrated by integrating, we also have to have clear learning goals in terms of what is critical for our students to learn nowadays, how their future will be impacted, and how can we educate them, training them, not jeopardizing what are the learning goals, but understand clear that these tools will be part of their life. Another important thing that we need to be aware is what we have today here, when we are doing this webinar, this is the worst version of artificial intelligence we will ever use. Because nowadays, we don't need to wait for years or even months to have new functionalities in terms of this. And this is very easy to understand. Just take a look at the 13 November 2022 and what ChatGPT was able to do. And after 15 months, what we have today. Look at the landscape of all these tools. And of course, it is challenging us, right? Will they replace us in terms of the jobs, the labor market? How can they produce fake news and so on? So we need to understand that we are only at the beginning of the journey, okay? We know that AI is not something new, okay? I already talked about it, but we need to understand in this new wave, this new in terms of artificial intelligence is we are in the first days or the first moment of the first seconds of this transformation, or maybe it's a little bit earlier to say of this wave of disruption. So it's important for us to understand, okay, Marco, but what is generative artificial intelligence? Okay, what is the concept? How can we address that? In a very simple approach, generative AI is AI algorithms, okay, from a particular field of artificial intelligence, machine learning, and neural networks, deep learning, and then we have these generative AI models that we can have the language models and the diffusion models, language models to generate text, diffusion models more related with graphics or information, image, video, and so on. And what these algorithms do when they are trained, they are training information that already exists, such as text, image, video, audio, music, and so on. And they are able to produce something new. And when we say something new, doesn't have to be creative, doesn't have to be innovative, okay? Just produce something new through what? A prompt, okay? And this prompt is given by the user. And the importance of the prompt is critical when we are interacting with these models. We'll just talk about that in a few moments. So we need to understand that generative artificial intelligence is disruptive, is ubiquitous, is macro because it's a general purpose technology, and is very difficult to detect. Until today, we do not have any kind of tools that can say with 100% sure that this particular thing, it was created or not by artificial intelligence. So this is also something important for us to know. Okay, so let's move a little bit more in terms of the tools that we have at our that we can interact, or we can use, or we can explore on, or even in the next step, we can integrate it. We can use, for example, in a twinning project, because there's a lot of possibilities about the things that we can do. Because one of the things that we also can see, and also from these different perspectives, okay, from these different angles, right? When we are talking about generative artificial intelligence, one of the things is that they are democratizing in terms of content generation. So everybody nowadays could have a tool that can generate an image, can have a tool that can generate text, can have a tool that can generate short clips of video. So this is good, right? But we also have the other perspective. Okay, is now that we have so much automation regarding that, right? In terms of learning, it's very critical for us to be very demanding in terms of what this tool can do and what these tools cannot do. Just to put you in terms of perspective of the different chatbots, because we have a lot of different chatbots nowadays. These ones here are like the four majors over here, right? So from OpenAI, we have ChatGPT, and ChatGPT is not a language model, so it's a chatbot that is supported by GPT, and GPT is the language model. We have from Anthropic, Claude, and nowadays the language model version is Claude 3. Then we have Copilot is also supported on GPT from Microsoft, and we also have from Google. We have Gemini, and we have different versions of their language models, such as Ultra, Pro, and Nano. Okay, so all of these four companies, they offer a free version, right? But they also have a paid version in terms of this. And what we know is the ones that are paid, they are most able, most capable in terms of output generation than the ones that we have as free. And one thing that is very critical, and even for me is very difficult to be informed and to see everything that is happening nowadays, is the speed, how things are happening. Okay, I say that we don't have nowadays a model that allows us to digest and integrate all the things that are happening in terms of technologies, because from every day, every week, every month, we have something new. We have something that we are not expecting to happen that happens in a very short period of time. Just to give an example, just a few days, Meta released another language model that is called Llama 3, and given the tests that are being doing so far, this is similar in terms about what some of the best models are able to do. And this is open source, and this is free, right? So we can even here take a look about this evolutionary tree, where we can see that we have a lot of different of these language models and these chatbots. So it's not only the four that I present to you, but mainly that four ones are, as we can see, the best ones that we have available nowadays. Okay, so give you this perspective, and of course we cannot forget that we have other tools and other platforms to generate image and generate different types of contents. But now I would like to take you in terms of the main topic of this series of webinar, that is professional development. So the first thing that we need to clarify is, what is professional development? Of course, we all know, so we are very experienced teachers, you are at winning ambassadors, but I just asked ChatGPT, okay, what is the real meaning of professional development in the context of a teacher's career? And he mentioned different elements here that we know that are critical and important on this particular, like skill enhancement, knowledge expansion, career advancement, networking, reflective practice. So this is all components when we are talking about professional development. We know that we as teachers and as educators, we always need to be aware about the challenges that are happening outside of the educational context. So I would like to share with you a structured prompt template that can be used by teachers with chatbots like ChatGPT, but could be Copilot, Gemini, Claude, or any other chatbot that you use, that can be used in terms of our own professional development, okay? And this is just a template that, of course, can be customized, right, regarding the teaching level and also the subject matter. So it's mainly on that particular. So what is important, and we are understanding this because when we are having these tools and platforms, they are different from other technologies, as I told you before. Other technologies, other tools that we were used to have and we were using, they have a tutorial or a manual or something like this. These tools don't have any kind of tutorial that come with these tools. We didn't even know what they can achieve, because that depends a lot in the interaction that we do with these tools, okay? If we have, like say, a weak or very simple prompt, what we will get from the output will be something that is not so relevant, okay? So it's important to give context, right? To give information, specific information. And this particular, I'm just showing and sharing with you this prompt. So we are telling the chatbot is an expert in teacher professional development. And from there, I want to teacher specializing. As you can see here, I'm looking to enhance my teaching practice, right? And having this prompt, we can go for very particular questions that we can address, okay? And we can divide it. So we need to have the capacity in terms of clear, prepare the conversation, the interacting linguistic that we're going to have with this chatbot. So once again, is not searching, okay, is prompting. And we need to understand what is the difference between searching and between prompting. When we are searching, we just have available a rank of web page. When we are prompting, we are interacting like a Socratic dialogue that we have with these tools. Of course, we can use some ready tools to help us as creating the prompts. So this is one example, but we can find another examples, and this could be very interesting in terms of professional development. Another research that I would like to share with you is from Ethan Mollick. Is a teacher in the American University, and he has been talking a lot about the thematic of generative artificial intelligence, and he developed a series of videos focused on AI for teachers and also AI for students. So this is very interesting because they are very well contextualized, and they go directly in terms regarding the topic. So this is also something very interesting for your professional development in the field of generative artificial intelligence and also education. But we can also have another opportunities over here, right? So we can, for example, interact with web pages. And this could be a page from the internet, this could be a video YouTube, this could be a PDF that you have on your online drives. And this example is an example from Microsoft Copilot, where we can open a page on the left side, and then with Copilot, we can interact with that page. OpenAI also have some examples from teachers in how to teach with AI. As you can see here, some of these examples. But I would like also to go to the concerns, to the threats, right? As I told you in the beginning, is challenge, these opportunities, but also there is some threats. And my biggest concern over here, or biggest fear, is if we don't integrate properly, integrated contextually, ethical, and curricularly, we run the risk of what I call the absence of learning. And what I want to say when I'm talking about the absence of learning, and we as teachers, we need to be concerned about this, and we need to take a look at this particular. So if we teachers, if we educators, we don't are the ones that do the integrations of generative AI, we could have more problems than solutions, all right? And why? Because giving the educational goals, we need to take an understanding that this technology must be used to enhance critical thinking, creativity, and not replace them, right? So it must serve as a bridge to a deeper learning and understanding than a barrier. But we also have the clear understanding regarding this is there is also real danger that students may rely too heavily on generative AI, right? And when that happens, we could have a bypass for very critical and important cognitive processes that are essential for learning that are not happening. Because why? Because the students delegate too much on these particular tools. And once they are getting better and better and better at a very reduced time, we need to ensure that while AI can aid education, the educational process in teaching and learning, of course, it doesn't replace the hard work and mental effort, okay? And that is critical for genuine understanding and intellectual growth. So our students need to understand that. And they understand that when they have a teacher that is prepared, that handle their professional development. The teacher knows what is generative artificial intelligence. The teacher clearly understands what are the benefits, but also are aware in terms of the risks. So, of course, we can do here a very interesting environment is generative AI also supports the teacher, so the teachers clearly understand how generative AI can be used in the learning process. And of course, with the tuning projects is one of the best ways to do that. Just for us to have a more clear idea on this particular, as we can see here, this is in terms of balance, the human contribution and the AI contribution, okay? And we want these environments where the human contribution is side by side with the AI contribution, and is what I call on this particular case that AI is used as a co-what, co-assistant, co-creator, co-author. And is this the key element in terms of all this process? And for that to happen, we need to understand the importance of the prompt and the prompting. And prompting is nothing else more than my ability to communicate, my knowledge of a particular subject. And with that knowledge and that ability to communicate, I will master the art of dexterity when interact with large language models. So don't see prompt or prompting with something very technical or very complex. No, it's something that we were educated for. It's something that our students need to master. And is that kind of critical elements that we need to help our students of developing here. I will just finish by giving you a struct of a GPT sharp prompt for education. We have different kind of examples, but I will give you this also to make a bridge, an interface for the next webinar that we will have with Ariana. And in this structure of this prompt for education, I mentioned the elements that are critical to be on a prompt on an educational environment. First, profile, objective or goal, context, the audience, the limitations, and also the pedagogical approach, okay? And your challenge between this webinar and the next webinar that we will have with Ariana is to create an educational prompt, and this prompt will be added to a Padlet, okay? I will just give you the link to a Padlet, and then Kyra can also put on the chat. But just to give you a more clear understanding of this framework, of this structure that I create for educational prompt, I could give you this example. So I'm giving a profile to the language model. I'm saying you are an educational expert, right? Then I'm given an objective. You have to explain concepts of electromagnetism. Then I'm giving what is the audience. So it's 11th grade students, right? And I'm giving the context, okay? So what is the context? The student has difficulty understanding this subject and will take an exam, okay? And then I'm also pointing the limitations, okay? You have to wait for the student's answer. And then I'm giving the approach, a progressive questioning approach. As you can see here, we have a prompt that is clearly built in terms of what are the main objectives. So what is the target that is defined over here? And of course, you don't need to use all these key elements, okay? So you can clearly adapt in terms of the elements that you need. But what I want you to understand is that when we are prompting here, we need to give context. We need to give information. We even need to give some kind of examples so the language model are able to give us the output that we were aimed to achieve. And there is different ways of do this from an educational integration or point of view. You can give the prompt already structured to the students, or you can work in the prompt with the students, or you can take the students to create their own prompts, because in all different examples that I give you, there are cognitive processes that are being built. The students are being built this cognitive process in the way that they are learning not only how to interact with language models, but also in the terms of their own knowledge. Just another example, just to finish. We can use these chatbots in the way that the students are learning by teaching. So instead of asking the questions to the chatbot, we can make the opposite. So could be the chatbot that is making the questions, the student is giving the answers, and at the same time, they are evaluating what are the outputs. So there is a lot of potential over here. Ariana will also guide you in terms of other examples and other tools that you can use. I'm just sharing here with you what is the link to the Padlet. Once again, Kyra, then we will send that to you because it's a little bit long in terms of this prompt. So you need to go to this Padlet. For the ones, you for sure you know how to use a Padlet. You are at Twinning Ambassadors. You just have to click on the plus. And what we ask you is you put your name, and then you put the prompt and just a short description how this prompt is contextualized. So I want to thank you very much for your time, and I hope that this webinar, it was useful to you. I will just stop here because I think we have a few minutes for Q&A that Kyra will lead. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Marco, for this super inspiring presentation and for all of the useful examples that you showed. I'm sure all the participants learned a lot. Before we go into a Q&A session, if we have time, just some practical information. If you have not signed up yet for the second webinar, please do so. The Padlet on which you can share the prompt is can also be found on the EU Academy page, but is also in the chat for you to find there. Please share your prompt before the webinar on Wednesday, as you will need it for Ariana's webinar as well. This is optional, so if you do not have time or you do not understand it, do not worry, it is an optional activity. Then, for the mandatory activity, the activity that you will need to do to be able to receive a certificate will be made available to you on Wednesday at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So on Wednesday after Ariana's webinar, you will have from Wednesday 5 o'clock until Friday 12 o'clock to complete this activity. That is Wednesday 5 o'clock Central European summertime until Friday 12 o'clock in the afternoon Central European summertime. When you have completed both the task that you need to do for the mandatory activity and you have peer-reviewed 2 of your participants, you will be eligible for the certificate. So please note that the activity will be made available to you after the second webinar on Wednesday. So to summarize quickly, the Padlet is open now. You can find a link to the Padlet in the chat, but you can also find the Padlet on the EU Academy page. Don't forget to share the prompt on this Padlet before the Wednesday webinar. However, this is optional. Kindly note that if you have any questions about the webinar, about the certificate, if you can't find anything, there is a forum on the EU Academy page, and we will answer all of your questions there. My colleague Marta will share the link to the forum on the chat as well. It is on the EU Academy page where also the PowerPoint will be and the recording will be. And if you have any questions, please put them in there and we will get back to you there. Then, Marco, thank you very much for today's webinar. We have learned a lot. Sadly, we do not have time for a Q&A session, but I'm sure that if you have any questions for Marco, you can also ask them in the course forum, and he would be more than happy to answer them for you there. And then very quickly, before we close, so information about our upcoming professional development offer. We have some courses and webinars that are upcoming. So please visit the course catalog on the European School Education platform to not miss any of our exciting opportunities. And thank you for joining us. Marco, thank you very, very much for today. It was a wonderful introduction to our webinar series for the eTwinning ambassadors. It was a great introduction to generative AI, and I am sure the participants are already very excited to start working on their prompts themselves. And we're receiving many wonderful compliments in the chat as well. Everybody's thanking you. So they have learned a lot. So Marco, I would like to leave the floor to you for a final word, a suggestion for the participants, or some words of wisdom that you would like to share with them before we leave today.
So once again, I just want to thank you, all the participants that were here with us today. And of course, thank you and Marta for the invitation to be part of this series webinar. And just a last message, as I was saying, the best thing is to try it, okay? Don't be afraid to try it, right? And we have to be very critical regarding this technology. So this is the most important thing. And we need to guide our students regarding what they can do and what they cannot do, and what is important to do and what is not important to do. Because as we all know, what is the most important thing in education is students learning. And these tools are available to them. So schools, they must create the environments that help them and how to use these tools. And once again, I've been a tweener for a long time. So tweenings have a lot of potential over here. So we can work with other teachers and we can test it and see if this approach works or not. So is what is the most important. And once again, thank you very much to you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marco. And thank you all to our eTwinning ambassadors for joining on this first webinar of the series. Many thanks for all of you. I wish you all a wonderful evening, and we hope to see you all on Wednesday for our second webinar on this exciting AI topic. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful evening.